Welcome to Training to Succeed. As you guys see, we're in a new studio, and I actually was able to get the streaming somewhat down live tonight for our hot topic. So if you have not, if you're watching this on replay, make sure that you hashtag replay in the comments. If you are watching us live, just go ahead and drop who you are and what school you're from in the comments section. All right, drop your name and what school you're from, whether you are streaming from our YouTube channel, because now we're on our YouTube channel, whether you're streaming from our Facebook channel, it doesn't matter. We'll know exactly where you're streaming from. Just tell us your name and what school you're from. That way I can say hi to you guys. So welcome to another hot topic. You may say, okay, what is a hot topic? A hot topic is a live, kind of like a podcast. Let me get my podcast mic in here so that we can pretend like it's a podcast. But it is our live training on topics that are related to the early childhood field. And all these trainings are absolutely free. We go live every Tuesday in this group. We do it for free. And if you guys want clock hours or CEU credits for it, we do send an email out to everyone who registered for the training. We send out a information to everyone, letting them know, hey, you took the hot topic and here's the quiz so that you can earn your CEU credits. We did get a new portal, so even if you took our past one, we're about to send out a mass email to everyone who has attended the last past 3 or 4 hot topics with all the links to the new portal that we have that kind of manages the CEUs. So if you guys were with me a couple of weeks ago, I told you guys that we're now doing CEU credits, and there was just a little bit of a disclosure that we have to put in there. And so that is what we've updated, and we'll be sending that out to you guys for you guys to watch the replay and take the hot topics training. So those will be going out this week. I am super excited about our new studio. I absolutely love it, and I'm excited about setting it up. It's kind of like my new classroom, and so we're going to be doing some fun stuff inside of this studio, and it is just like my blank slate for me to be creative, which we're going to talk about tonight, and be really excited about not only the early childhood field, but actually working with teachers. I always say these hot topics are for my early childhood teachers. There's just not enough resources out there for you. There's things out there for directors and owners and child care videos for them, but what about the actual teachers that are in the classroom? Who's going to empower you? Hello, Sparkle Queen Rebecca from the Learning Experience in New York. All right, Miss Rebecca. She is one of our Training You to Succeed. We're going to crown her with something because she shows up and shows out every single week. And I just absolutely love the energy that she brings to our actual training. So without further ado, welcome to another hot topic. All right, so let's get in here. I am going to tell you that tonight we're going to talk about artistic adventures. Guys, I love art and creativity so much. It helps me thrive and live, and I know a lot of kids live in that moment, and I am going to not be stuck on the title, and I'm going to get into the actual training, but I want to tell you how close this topic is to my heart, because I was a kid that was very artsy, and I love making stuff, and I still love it to this day, and that's why I thrive on being in new spaces. So imagine me as a kid. I wanted to express myself. I wanted to do things that were freaking exciting. I did sewing and dressed up my Barbie dolls and lined them up and taught them. So not only did I teach them, but I kind of made their clothes out of scraps. And so my auntie was a seamstress and she made clothes. She made all of our clothing. She made dresses and all that for us. And so she had these scraps that were left over. And so I would take those scraps and I would make clothing for my little sister, who was just a year younger than me. But I would dress her up and be like, you can fit this can like stitch it and put her in fashion shows. And I would also use the fabric to make clothing for my Barbie dolls. And so from the time I was a kid, I just loved art. I love creativity, being in a creative space. And so sometimes, like, if I'm in a space for too long, I get really bored and I need something that's going to challenge me, that is something that will push me towards using those creative skills. And usually they say creative people are like really messy, disorganized, and junky. That's true. Our thoughts are like all over the place. But just think about those children who are in your classroom that can't sit still. They're constantly jumping up. They're moving around. Those are your children who are really creative. They don't like to sit still for a long period of time. They love the fact that they can create, go on adventures. And that's why I titled this training an artistic adventure. Because if you think of yourself as a non-creative person, a non-artsy person, I promise you, going on this adventure with me will help you to understand how to identify your creativity so that you can spark it in young children as well. So my shirt for tonight says, trust your creativity. And so this is one of our shirts from our Teachertopia shop, Training to Succeed Teachertopia shop. And it says, trust your creativity. It's a vintage look. You can put it on with a sweater or wear with a pair of jeans, whatever you like. But I trust my creativity, and I know it doesn't look like everybody else's. It's really different. So that's why I'm like crazy in love with this training tonight, because I love to share ideas on how to become or how to spark that creativity, not only in you as a teacher, but as for children. So you'll notice on all my hot topics, I work on teachers, because in order for you to be an amazing teacher to children, I have to work on making you amazing yourself. And then it'll pour over and spill over to the kids that you actually work with. So that's why I spend a lot of times with helping you identify those things in yourself so that they'll pour over and jump onto the children that you actually work with. So welcome to an artistic adventure with Carolyn Green. All right, so here we go. Next one. All right. So upcoming events. I am going to get into that before we start the training. Guess what? This is the week of the young child. Yesterday was Music Monday. Today is Tasty Tuesday. Tomorrow is Work Together Wednesday. Thursday is Artsy Thursday, so take some tips from tonight and use it in your classroom for Artsy Thursday. And then Friday is Family Fridays. And so if you follow my page, you'll see that I'm posting every day some things that we did during the day. Actually, I'm going to post tonight for Wednesday so that you guys can kind of see some things for Wednesday and Thursday that you can actually do. So the week of the young child. If you are here, I want you to comment some of the things that you're doing in your classroom for the week of the young child. Please tell me that you are doing something great. All right, so we have a Super Saturday coming up April 15th. It is in person, and it is a hands-on interactive workshops. Guys, these are just my podcast hot topics. When I'm in a live training, it is live. It is exciting. We do a lot of hands-on moving and dancing, and it's really hard for me to sit in this seat for 2 hours, but we are on a hot topic. Then we're going to have a powwow virtual training, which is going to talk about your superpowers as a teacher. That is going to be a virtual event April 16th. I will be putting those links out this week for registration. We have a virtual boot camp that is coming up May 19th through the 21st. And of course, another Super Saturday, May 6th. And that is going to be held here in Houston, Texas. Then the most amazing thing, in November, we are doing a teacher camp / slumber party over in Camp Allen in Nacogdoches, Texas. We have rented out the whole entire campgrounds. You have bunk beds, bring your sleeping bags. It is going to be spectacular. It's going to help you to revive, rejuvenate, and actually pour into you some more exciting activities to do in the classroom with your kids. So those are what's going on at Training You to Succeed. And I am so excited, and I hope to see you at one of these upcoming events. All right, let's learn about creativity. So, guys, this is an artistic adventure to learn how to identify your creativity. And so whenever it comes to creativity, A lot of times I hear teachers saying, I'm not creative. I can't come up with ideas. And because they're not creative, they don't promote creativity in their classroom. And tapping into creativity does a number of things for children, and we're going to dive into that tonight. All right. So, let your creativity shine. Finding the creative person in you. Like I said, if you cannot identify that person in you, it's going to hard to kind of teach that to young children. So we're going to spend some time doing that tonight. And I really would love your interaction. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Danielle. Welcome. I would love your interaction. I am going to ask you either grab your phones if you're not on your phones, grab a piece of paper, because I do want you to kind of participate tonight and get engaged with this creativity activity. So I'm going to ask yourself in the comments, would you say you are a creative person? Yes or no? Are you a creative person? Yes or no? So those comments in the comments, I'll wait for you guys because I do know that there is a little bit of a lag that goes on. Are you a creative person? You can say yes, no, I don't think I am. I have to look up ideas all the time. Or yes, I feel like I'm creative. I am coming up with things all the time. So Rebecca says yes, she feels that she is a creative person. Who else wants to comment below and tell me, do you think that you are a creative person? All right. So if you say no or you say yes, let's test your creativity and see if you are actually a creative person. So first of all, I want to go ahead and define what is creativity. That is the ability to think in unique ways, like no other person. So if you're coming up with constant ideas of things that are unusual, that people are like, that's just a crazy idea. To tell people that I own like multiple businesses, they're like, you must be a crazy person. No, I just come up with ideas and I get really excited about bringing those ideas to someone else so that they can experience exactly what I'm experiencing. Or combine things in different ways. So if you're able to mix and match different things in different ways, then that is a sure tell sign that you are a creative person. Creativity is the ability to is digging deeper. Like when you're sitting at home in your bed and you're thinking in deep thought, or you're out on a walk and you're in deep thought and things just start coming to your mind, that is a sign of creativity. Looking twice at things. My mom always said, when I shop, I can spot out anything. I can be walking fast and I'm like, oh, what is that? And I'm like running over there to grab it. I'm like that when I'm driving down the street. I will back up, make a U-turn to find a piece that I want to put in my office or to reconstruct for my house. It is crossing out mistakes, not letting mistakes take over you. We all hit a lot of bumps in the road, but we should just cross them out and just keep on going. That is a part of creativity. Getting into deep water. A lot of us want to walk in shallow water, I should say. You want to kind of splash around. You don't want to get into deep water because you're afraid of something jumping on you or biting you or you drowning. People with creativity is actually getting into that deep water and figuring it out or coming up with a creative way. Now, I can't swim very well, but you better believe if I jump off into that deep water, I'm going to be grabbing a tree limb or a rat. I'm going to be figuring out something. Or I'm just going to hold my breath and just lay back and let the wave take me. Breaking out of locked doors. A lot of times in the early childhood field, people try to put you in a box and they try to keep you there and they don't want you to grow. And sometimes you feel like, oh my God, the walls are caving in on me. I can't get out and be who I am. And you know that is where a lot of teachers become disgruntled and not happy in childcare. It's because they are in locked doors and they don't know how to break out and become their own person. Wanting to know is creativity. Wanting to know more, wanting to be your best. Like, how do you work that? How can I figure that out? And so I'm that type of person. I'm like, you know what? I don't know, but guess what? I'm going to work it out, figure it out. I'll get into my creativity zone. I'll get into my space and I'll just start putting things together and just figuring out, hey, this is what needs to happen. Having a ball, having fun. I know that you can't have fun all the time, but I try to find fun in no matter what I do. I do this thing even when I'm having a rough day, like, oh my God, my life is in shambles. Even the way I do that, people just laugh. They're like, you know what, something wrong with her. And I'm like, really? I'm having a hard time today. But that is having a ball or having excitement, even though it's rough at that particular time. Even though, things are going on, having a ball no matter what. Singing in your own way. I will make up a song in a minute. La 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 la. I am going to my office, putting up pictures. I just make up stuff and I be in my own world just singing and chanting because that makes me feel like, wow, I can just be myself and tap into the creativity. As early childhood professionals, we have no excuse why we can't do that. Kids will just sing along. We could be in our own world, la 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 la, and they will just jump in and sing with us. It is the best profession for a creative person. Shaking hands with the future, like not being afraid what's in front of you, knowing that there are going to be challenges, knowing that things are not going to always be perfect. That is creativity, guys. So when people say, well, I'm not creative, well, if you look twice at things and you dig deeper, you're creative. If you want to know more, that's creativity. If you're having a ball and you sing songs and you enjoy life, that is creativity, my friend. So when someone says they're not creative, I want you guys to take out your phone, screenshot, or take a picture of this slide, or a screenshot this slide, and they go, well, I'm not creative. Well, you say, here is my creativity test. I am going to pull it out, and I'm going to ask you a few questions. And if all of the answers are no, then I guess you're not creative. But I guarantee you that somebody's going to say yes to one of these things, and it's going to prove that they are creative. Creative people and children are curious, but why? Because I said so. That is not a creative answer. They're expressive. They're always moving, and they're extravagant and dramatic. That's creativity. They're spontaneous. We call spontaneous misbehaving and not following directions, but look closer. Sometimes it's a sign of their creativity. It is self-confident. It is believing in yourself and standing strong. You have some kids that you can't tell them nothing. They are confident. They believe in themselves. They're not shy. They will speak out. They will speak up. Being playful, having a good time. Them messing. I'm just messing with you, Ms. Carolyn. I'm just having a good time with this activity. Being playful, that is a part of their creativity. And my favorite, adventurous. No wonder why I named my school Adventures in Learning. My curriculum is Adventures in Learning because every day should be an adventure. You should be learning, exploring, and figuring things out in your classroom. It should be adventurous for you. You've got to be open-minded. I tell people, when you come into my classroom, you have to just dump everything at the door. Even when you come into my Training You to Succeed classroom, you have to dump it all at the door because I want to fill your mind with new, exciting things. I want you to be open-minded. Active participants, conversating with me, talking to me, interacting with me, not just listening to me, but being a part of this. Wanting that shows me that you are a creative person. Language explosion. Okay, talking a lot. I'm just going to say it. If people tell you, oh my God, you talk too much, that is because you're just a creative person. A lot of people talk a lot. I talk a lot. That's why I have a training business, because I like to talk. I like to talk to kids, even though there are times I don't like to talk, but then, I'm being serious. Like, I'm working, I'm focused, I'm in my real deep thought mode. But for the most part, I will talk to the fly on the wall. I was on the airplane flying out to Dallas the other day. And what was that, Sunday? I don't even know the days anymore. They're all mushing together. And this guy sat next to me on the airplane, and he was the pilot. And he was like, he's like, oh, I talk a lot. I said, I talk a lot too. You bet your match. And we talked all the whole entire flight. He told me his life story. I told him what I did. I asked questions about his kids. And we're like BFFs. Why? Because I will talk to anyone. I will make people talk to me. So language explosion is is one of the signs that a person is creative and strategically motivated. That means that they do things without being told. Like, nobody told me to start a training company. Nobody told me to be a great preschool teacher. No one told me, Carolyn, make t-shirts. No one told me, Carolyn, keep switching offices so that you can have a better space. No one told me to open up. No one told me those things. It came from within. No one told Miss Rebecca she had to show up at all the trainings. Nobody told Miss Danielle that she had to. Well, maybe somebody told Miss Danielle she had to, but that's a different story. But she's here, which shows that she is intrinsically motivated to learn more, to do more. So these are our creative people. But guess what? When children show these exact things, we try to shut it down. This is why so many kids, by the time they reach the age 8, are no longer creative. Their imaginary friends are no longer there. They can no longer paint and come up with things. You'll say, hey, draw this picture. And they'll be like, but I can't. Well, what do you mean you can't? Just a couple of years ago, you would do a stick figure and a squiggly line and tell me it was your whole family. Why? Because we have stripped that creativity away from them. Okay, I see a comment over here. Yep, that's the creativity in you, Miss Rebecca. She says it is terrible when she makes up a song one day and then the kids ask her to sing it the next day. It's like, I don't remember that song. So here's what you have to do, Miss Rebecca. If you have tablets in your classroom or whatever, take the time to record yourself. I started doing that. I just would turn on my phone and record things because I wouldn't remember what I said or what song I sung the day before. I do that a lot in coaching calls because people are like, what did you just say? And I'm like, I don't know what I just said. I'm just flowing. And that's why I even record these hot topics, because I'll say something like so profound to myself and I'm like, dang girl, that was good. And I can't remember it 5 minutes later. So that is perfectly fine. Just take the time to pull out your tablet or whatever you have in your classroom and record it, and then that way the kids can play it the next day, and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember that song. Oh yeah, what? I came up with that song. Look at me, I'm a songwriter. So yeah, just record it and the kids will appreciate it the next day. Creativity requires, it is a must for you to be adventurous. That means that you can't be still and boring. You have to be adventurous in order to be creative. What comes to mind when you hear the word adventure? All right, so I want you guys to take a piece of paper, or even in the comments, I would love to see your comments. Write your answer on a sentence strip and share your idea, or put it in the comments. What comes to mind when you hear the word adventure? And I'll give you guys just a second to talk as I grab my drink. Good old Chick-fil-A. Hopefully this video doesn't get banned for saying Chick-fil-A. I don't own the rights to this cup or the drink that I'm about to drink. What comes to mind when you hear the word adventure? I pushed click too fast. My finger is moving faster than I talk. Adventure means bright, colorful, just all over the place. Yes, it's bright, it's colorful, it's just moving all around. That's what comes to mind when Miss Rebecca hear the word adventure. And it kind of aligns, Miss Rebecca. It is defined as an exciting or unusual experience. I do apologize. It may also be a bold, usually risky undertaking with an uncertain outcome, engaging in exciting activity. So an adventure is doing something that is bold, unusual, it's risky. So when I said I was going to go live just about every Tuesday and do a free training for staff, all my colleagues were like, what? You're going to give up your time to train people? And I'm like, yes, I want them to understand. At the end of the day, yes, you can pay me for training, but I want to be able to give teachers what they can't get in their early childhood programs. I want them to be able to come to this live, ask whatever questions they want to ask, be in a comfortable place. And so I knew it was risky doing it, but I'm super excited that I did, because it's exciting for me and it brings so much joy to other teachers. So tell me some things that you're doing in your classroom that aligns to the word adventure. What are you doing that's bold, that's risky, that you're not sure how it's going to turn out, but you're going to try it anyway? What are some adventures that you go on in your program? All right, so even Miss Danielle defined it as doing something exciting, exploring something new, exciting. Yes, it is. So, what does the term adventure in learning mean? Taking a child on an educational quest. And so I stick to that term, and it's like it's my philosophy is that children should go on an adventure in learning every day. So that means that you're taking them on a quest. And during this quest, you will help the children find answers. A lot of times in early childhood fields, we don't want to give kids answers because we don't really know the answers. And we don't want to take the time to stop what we're doing to give them a solution to their problem. Learning new things through exciting learning experience. Hands-on learning is so important. And so when a kid asks you, Miss Rebecca, why is the paint white in our classroom? Miss Rebecca go, you know what? That is a very good question. Well, I'm sure the owners decided to be white, but guess what? I can find out a good answer for you and get back. So let's put it on our question board. This is a question that Miss Rebecca does not have the answer to right now, but I'm going to write it up here and I'm going to do my best to find an answer. So even think about getting like a map or a light bulb in your classroom, like a cutout of a light bulb, and writing all the questions or ideas that kids have on them and being able to go back to them and answer them. This is doing learning based on the things that they want to know. And even if you have a set curriculum, you can still make a thinking pad in your classroom. You can even make a thinking jar or a question mark in your classroom where you write questions that kids have on there. That's just an enrichment for your environment that you can put into the math center, the language center, or even into your circle time. So learning new things through exciting learning experiences. And so that is what an adventure in learning means. Learning will be bold, uncommon, an exploration of unknown territory. So whenever I came up with the name Adventures in Learning, I wanted this to be what children experienced every day. I wanted their creativity to pour over and for them to be so excited about being in my classroom or my center or my program that learning was not what they did on a typical basis, but it was something that had their minds totally blown. I remember when I was a 3-year-old teacher doing this activity with ladybugs. And it all came because a kid was like, Ms. Carolyn, can a ladybug be pink and white too? Or are all ladybugs red and black? And so I was like, that's a good question. I said, from what I know, ladybugs are red and black and they have spots on them. And so I had my kids, I said, well, draw what you think a ladybug looks like. And we all drew pictures of ladybugs and we hung it up. So that night I went home and I looked up ladybugs and started doing some research and looking up things. And I found out that there were thousands of different types of ladybugs. The one-spotted ladybug, the yellow, the non-spotted ladybug, the yellow and black ladybug. There are some ladybugs that are black and white. And so I brought all these things in and let the kids explore them, and they asked questions. They even wanted to use clay to make their own ladybugs, and we found out the different names of the ladybugs, and It was a whole ladybug thematic unit that I added into my science center. Now, I couldn't go deep into it like I wanted to because I had to follow the general curriculum for my program, but it was an enrichment activity that I added to one of my centers, and the kids enjoyed it. They were writing all these things about ladybugs and the different types of ladybugs, went home and told their parents, and their parents were amazed at this educational quest that they had went on about ladybugs. And it it was something that they were excited about because they brought the topic. So think about some ways that you can make learning adventurous in your classroom. What about asking the kids what they want to learn about and putting it on, I want to know more about? And that is an activity that you can do once a week in your science center or in your math center or in your language center. You name it. All curriculums have small group and large group lessons that you have to follow. But whenever you add things to your learning centers, that is an enrichment or an enhancement. And a lot of times that is not defined in the curriculum. So teachers do have that wiggle room and that excitement that they can add these creative places to the learning center. And you say, okay, I thought we were talking about art, but all of this was tied to art because you should have seen the pictures of the ladybugs that came out of that. Kids were capturing pictures of ladybugs. We had this little camera in the classroom, and they were like going outside taking pictures of ladybugs. They were making sculptures of ladybugs. Why? Because I sparked that creativity inside of them, and however they wanted to express it, through drawing a picture, through photography, through molding it, through writing about it, through making a book about it. All of that is considered creativity. It's not about just painting a picture. Being artistic means that you can create and do things in so many different ways. It doesn't have to look the same. I have this painting that's behind me, and it has like all these different textures and all these different pieces, and it's a three-piece of artwork. And so a lot of people go, well, that's not art. They didn't make that. That's not a picture. Well, yes, it is. It's a way that person created, expressed themselves. It is a way that they showed their ability to create and be adventurous and come up with new things. I've seen all kinds of artwork through poetry, through building sculptures, which is a mathematical skills. All of those things are super amazing ways to take children on a learning adventure. All right. So I want to take some time to flash back, and we're going to tap into your creativity. Oh my goodness, bringing the ants into your classroom is so exciting. And we have Work Together Wednesday coming up, and that'll be a great topic for you to explore on the week of the young child working together and how the ants work together to build different things. So that is a great dive deep activity to go into for Working Together Wednesday. What type of learning adventures did you experience when you were a child? Share some of the things. I can remember, like I said, making doll clothing. I can remember making mud pies. I can remember pretending to cook with grass and make salads in my backyard. Playing doll. I did a lot of doll play whenever I was a kid, a lot of imagination play. So the reason why we have to tie back or do this flashback is that you have to find that place of adventurous in your heart first. Connect to that feeling and how you felt when you were going on an adventure. I remember when I was in kindergarten. Yes, I can remember being in kindergarten. That's how impactful this activity was. And I still do it to this day. And it was the gingerbread hunt. And I can remember going from classroom to classroom. And I remember we found the gingerbread man in the kitchen at the elementary school. And he was just there on a sheet. And we, ate him when we went back to the classroom. But it was a big gingerbread man. I can remember being a Care Bear in our Care Bear play. These are some things that I really enjoyed when I was in elementary school. And when I think about the feeling that I had when I was on that adventure, I want kids to be able to experience that each and every day. So, as you guys are putting those flashbacks in the comments, let's go on an adventure ourselves. As you know, I love songs, and so we're going to do a little song. So join me. Ready? Going on an adventure, going on an adventure, gonna have much fun, gonna have much fun. It's the perfect time, it's the perfect time, and I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Let's do it one more time. All right, let's flash back and let's go. Going on an adventure, going on an adventure, gonna have much fun, gonna have much fun. It's the perfect time, it's the perfect time, and I'm not scared. I'm not scared. So, what adventure can we go on? I see paint. I see paint. And I have brushes. And I have brushes. Let's make a castle. Let's make a castle. It was much fun. It was much fun. So what kind of adventure do you want to go on with your kids? And I guarantee you, if you take kids on an adventure, it will be so much fun. And it is no better time than now than to go on an adventure and do something exciting. And you can do different things. Maybe you'll start your circle time off with this. Oh, what is the adventure for today? Oh, what about exploring ants? Ants. Look how they crawl. What are they building? Watch them work together. So what adventure are you actually going to go on with your kids in a classroom? What does a creative adventure look like? Children having fun, children experiencing new things, children engage, emergent learning. You see, when we talk about emergent learning, and I do a training just on this, and I'm going to quickly talk about it, even though it doesn't go into great deal like this. Emergent learning means that you take things in your environment and you make a lesson about it, make a lesson of it, and help kids learn new things from what they already know. See, like Miss Rebecca bringing in ants. Most of the kids know what ants are. What do they say about ants? So even if she made a chart and she says, well, what do you know about ants? They crawl, they bite, they go near food, and they write all these things about what they know about ants. And so what Miss Rebecca is going to say is, yeah, they bite, but let's talk about why and what that actually is. Well, yeah, they go near food. But what happens when they go near the food? How do they come? How does the food actually move? How does that little bitty ant move that big hot dog? So that is emergent learning. It's taking what they know and blooming it into new knowledge. And so if we did more things like that in our environment, then kids would really enjoy learning. Children playing, and I say play, but meaningful play. And the reason why I say meaningful play is because children don't know how to play anymore because we've stripped their imagination and their creativity from them. And so what we have to do is prompt them and give them new things to explore and play with. If I told my niece, hey, go play, her idea is playing is getting my cell phone and watching a TikTok video. That's her idea of playing. But if I said, well, no, let's go outside and let's create your own TikTok world. And so, and having her do her dance and make up her dances and come up with new things, that is her way of playing and expressing herself. But not just watching what other people do, but coming up with her own things. That is a part of being artistic. And so we always talk about, okay, it's too much technology out there. But those kids that are on TikTok making up those dances, coming up with those different things and all these things that we keep trying and doing, that is a part of creativity and artistic. And so we have to give children the space to play, explore, and all those things for them to be able to come up with new things. Children being creative. That is what an artistic adventure looks like. It is kids being exactly who they are, the way that they are, and how they are. Oh my goodness, you guys saw that? I don't even know how that happened. Ooh, it got dark in here. Maybe it's a clap on, clap off. I don't know. It's one of those lights. Anyway, let's keep rolling. I'm gonna move this way. Ooh, there we go. All right, so it is children being creative. Understand that creative teachers have creative children. That's why I spend time with you guys connecting to what you think creativity is. Remembering when you were a kid, what you enjoy. Because the more creative you are, the more creativity you're going to bring to your children. You have to learn to be a child again in order to bring that artistic view to your classroom. Yes, of course, I'm going to give you guys some art ideas, but if you don't tap into being a real creative person, you're not going to let children be creative. So you, first of all, have to learn how to be a child again in order to teach creativity to children. This means living in the moment, acceptance of the world, sensitivity to the world. Oh my God, when I tell you some people are so insensitive to what's going on in the world right now. Happiness, laughter, and smile. Do you know that happiness, laughter, and smiling sparks creativity in people? It makes them say, I'm happy to be here and I can be who I am. And that's where real creativity flows. A playful attitude, just laughing sometime and having a good time. Think you are creative. Kids, you can't, if you say, hey, you're creative, they'll be like, yeah, I am. And they will just find ways to be that. But as adults, we're like, no, I'm not. I'm not a creative person. I'm boring. I don't do creative things. I just do what I'm supposed to do. No, you have to think like a child. If you're saying that as a teacher, then there's no way you're going to build creativity in young children. And that is one of their whole child pieces. Creativity is a piece of that. And prize individuality. When it comes to creativity and being artistic, you have to understand that art and expression looks different for each child. And I'm going to drop some information right here. And I know Nacy is a very big supporter of this. Defacing kids' artwork. Writing their name on their artwork, writing what it is on their artwork is not right. You look at these pieces behind me. If I took a Sharpie marker and written all over them, it will devalue that artwork. So, some great ways to label and put their artwork, put it in a frame, or even if you hang it up with some type of backing, put a little note next to it, a learning a documentation of learning note, or write on the back of it in pencil so that you're not defacing their artwork. Each art piece is supposed to look different. So telling everybody that their rabbit has to look the same, that's not okay. That is not prizing individuality. Telling me that, oh, I have to paint my picture, my mountain with this gray paint, and I want to paint my mountain green, or I want to paint my mountain pink. Or people saying, oh, there's no purple people in the world. Okay, there may not be, but let me be creative. Let me come up with different ways that I want to express my individuality. Maybe I want people to be purple in my world because that makes me happy. And so happy and laughter and smiling will help spark so much creativity. But doing all this uniformed artwork, if it is a math activity and it's following directions, let me put the ears on the cat this way. That's following direction. The ears go here, the eyes go here, the mouth goes here, the nose goes here. That is following directions. That is not individuality and individual artwork. It is just not. So you guys have to give kids a space. One thing that I did in my classroom, I created something called the art gallery, and it had no colored words. It was like black letters, and I had like black frames, and I let the kids use all kinds of different mediums to medias to create different things. So even in my art center, when they went over to create, I not only had paint and scissors, but I had pom pom balls that they could actually use, and glue, and Chanel sticks, and buttons, and all the things that were not choking hazards for my age group. And I said, hey, free art time, child directed art time. You can come up and create whatever picture you want, and it goes inside of my art gallery. Well, Ms. Carolyn, what do you want me to create? Use your imagination. Just imagine. And a lot of times we don't allow kids that space to use their imagination, and they just stand there blank. But what do you want me to do? Why? Because we train little robots and we don't encourage them to think creative, and we do not prize their individual thoughts. That is real artistic, having a real art center. I want to encourage you guys to go look at some Reggio schools in Italy. They have a art studio inside of their school, and it's called, I want to say it's called the oh, it's going to come to me, the word is going to come to me soon, but it's like the definition is art in the attic. And so they have this art gallery with like watercolors. You know, I have some teachers that be like, kids can't use the watercolors because they're going to make them messy. Well, watercolors are supposed to be messy. And so allowing them to water paint, use the actual paint. Oh, you can only paint if I'm watching you, if I come over there. No, give them that space to create different things. Having clay so that they can create sculptures and moldings inside of the classroom. It is so important to have that open art piece for kids to make things, even having fabric. Maybe they want to make a hat or a dress, just a whole place for them to be individuals. And teachers say, well, I only have a small art area. Make the most of it. Rotate those activities. Put fresh things in there all the time. Let it pour over into other centers. Just because your dramatic play is a kitchen most of the time doesn't mean that you can't turn it into an art studio. Doesn't mean that you can put an extra easel and some paint and some hats and, some palettes in there for kids to be able to paint. These are things that are going to help spark their creativity and come up with different things. Yes, newspapers, magazines, they're great for collage making. Actually letting them use scissors. Yes, toddlers use scissors. But you have to learn to be this child that is on this screen again, that live in the moment, that accepts the world, that is sensitive to the world, that laughs and have happiness and smiles and have this playful attitude, that thinks creativity, and you understand the value of being an individual. That's who teachers need to be. And if teachers can be more of that, guess what? We can produce more children like that. All right. So let's talk about teacher disposition. A lot of people says, what does a creative teacher look like? Is she the teacher that comes to school with mismatched clothes on, looking like the teacher from the Magic School Bus? Does she look like Punky Brewster? Does she look like Blossom? Not really, especially if she wears uniforms. What does her disposition actually looks like? And it all ties in with what we talked about in the beginning. She's not dressed like Punky Brewster all the time. She's not wearing her hair in pom-pom balls and a big flower on her hair. Yeah, I do, but that's just my personality. But she's willing to try new things. She's self-confident. She's flexible. She's concerned about the children's feeling, how they feel and what they think. She has many ideas. Let me tell you guys about that. I talked about on my regular Facebook page, I do a training called Passion, Purpose, and Profit. And it's outside of the early childhood field, but it helps people to identify what their passion is, get them aligned to their purpose, and then eventually help them make money because they're aligned perfectly, which is what I did in my life. I followed my passion for the love that I had for teaching and children, and I aligned it to early childhood education. And then, of course, money started to flow from owning my own school, my own training company, and all the things early childhood. But having many ideas is an amazing thing. People will say the jack of all trades is the master of none, but oftentimes that's the part that they leave out, the master of one. And so the master of many things. And so it is okay to have a lot of ideas. It is okay to do a lot of things. All you have to do is learn how to organize those ideas, get them out of your mind through a brain dump, and be able to express them. A lot of people become depressed or overwhelmed because they have more ideas than they can actually handle. But instead of trying to keep those ideas in your brain, let's start getting them out. I want to encourage every teacher, if you don't already, have a journal dedicated to your passion, which is teaching. This is where you can write down all the ideas that you have, whether it's for your classroom, whether it's for owning your own center, whether it is for doing workshops one day just like this. No matter what it is, you should have something, a journal dedicated to your passion. And I do brain dumps all the time. Here in my studio, I actually made an area with a huge whiteboard because I love having many ideas. And I know as a trainer, it filters down to my teachers. So if I want to have teachers who have this type of disposition, I have to have this disposition as the trainer so that I can pour over to a teacher who will eventually pour over to a child. So it is okay for you to have many ideas. And guess what? If you get them out of your mind onto that paper, those ideas will come to fruition. Being a lifelong learner, I am constantly researching and seeing what's going on in the world. Even though I believe in the basics, I believe a lot of teachers don't even have the basic skills, and I need to bring that to them. I'm always renewing myself and saying, hey, let me go to this training and see what this person is talking about. Let me see what new research is out there. How can I bring this research into a fun, friendly, implementable way to a classroom? Yes, I appear to people disorganized. If you see my office right now, you'll be like, oh my God, that is a hot mess. But it's just my creativity flowing. That's what I say. We're not bothered by change. I'm not. I've been going through a lot of changes over the past couple of decades. And it doesn't bother me. I just kind of go with the flow. I stay persistent at what I do, and you should too. When things are shaken up and change, you should not let it bother you. You should stay persistent at what you're doing. And you should take the time to reflect on your own actions. Like, sometimes in life, no matter how great of a teacher you are, you just make mistakes sometimes. And sometimes you don't show up at your best all the time. You have to have the ability to sit down and say, you know what? I really wasn't my best. Here's how I can take ownership of my actions and become a better person. Appreciate beautiful things. Like, I love decorating. I love setting things up. I love to walk into a classroom that is aesthetically pleasing. I believe that children do too. And so room arrangement is my jam. I love setting up classrooms. I love setting up new spaces, hence the new space that I am in. Would you guys be interested in me doing some videos on how I'm setting up my new office? Comment in the comments. I might do some videos on that. But I appreciate aesthetically pleasing things. I love going into classrooms that are like messy but beautiful, yet I know children live there. It's engaging and I want to play. And so that's how teachers should be. They should appreciate their classroom being a masterpiece. Like, I loved my office as a director. I love my classroom, and I love decorating my school. Provides open-ended activities. That means that you ask questions without giving answers. Kat says, yes, setting up bulletin boards. Girl, setting up bulletin boards. I think that, yeah, I still love setting up bulletin boards. It's just at one point I was like, I am going to retire from bulletin boards. We worked for this company that was obsessed with bulletin boards. And I think I've done enough bulletin boards in classrooms. It's like, why do we have to have 50 million bulletin boards that are not reflective of what the children are learning? But if you say so, I will go and decorate this hallway full of bulletin boards if I need to. So having open-ended activities in your classroom that explore that provides kids an opportunity to explore. She said, I can't get over that. Yes. Yeah, that was a time. Me too. I'm forever moving things around. I love decorating everything and anything. You just never know. The kids would go home and they would come back and I would totally rearrange the classroom. It's because I just got stuck. I'm like, you know what? This will look better over here. Let me move this shelf around. Let me move this over here. I think the dramatic play center will look a little bit better over here and the block center would go better over here. I constantly moved the classroom around and kids would walk in and be like, oh my God, it's a new place. Sometimes I do that in the whole school. I'll shift around the whole entire. I'm like, okay, let's put this over here. Let's move this over here. And let's do that. Even setting up my new studio. You guys saw my background before with the flowers and I absolutely loved it. But then when I got into my new studio, I'm like, oh, I want to do something different. I want to put this over here. I want to put that over here. And I'm like, are they going to think I'm crazy because I changed my background? And I'm like, no. It's fun. It's exciting. And it probably will change 50 more times before the end of the year. So welcome to the open-minded. You do it at home too? Yes, I do that same thing at home. I think I have rearranged my room a couple of times. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the teacher, well, not a teacher box, it's the scrapping box. I also have a page called Sparkle with Plans, and it is on Instagram, and I haven't been really posting on it a lot, but I'm about to get back into it. But I have this whole box in my classroom. In my bedroom. It's called the creativity box, and when you open it up, it has like all my crafting stuff and all the things that I love to do. So it is definitely, I'm just an overly excited, creative, colorful person. That's just how I am. But I do it at home. I'm like that in the classroom. And, birds of a feather flock together. That's why you guys are here with me tonight, because your disposition is exactly this. So let's get into how you can promote creativity amongst children. So provide time to think creatively. So like having a creativity zone, you may have like a box that you have for kids. Who wants to go into the creativity box and come up with a bright idea? So thinking of ways that you can provide children time to think creatively. Reward creative ideas and thoughts. When they come up with something, maybe have like a little light bulb sticker and say, hey, thank you for sharing this bright idea. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kavita. I hope I said your name right. But we talk all the time, but I'm horrible with names. So maybe having a reward system so that you can give kids a certificate that says, you were super creative, my creative friend for today, or creative star of the week. We always focus rewards on behavior, but what about focusing some of those rewards on creativity? Them coming up with great ideas. I know I have this idea pad that I write like all my ideas on. It gets full and overwhelming. I even do it with sticky notes. I just came up with this whole sticky note system, and I just bought all these new sticky notes. Yeah, guys, they even have sticky notes that are lists. And I bought this big old pack of sticky notes because I found this way to kind of map out new ideas that I have for lesson plans, for activities for teachers, for events that are coming up. So I always came up with great ideas and great thoughts when I was a kid. And do you know, I never was really rewarded for them. And imagine what type of person I could have been a lot sooner if someone had said, wow, amazing job for that creative idea. I always felt like an outcast because I had bright ideas and creative ideas and nobody else didn't. So reward kids for that. encourage them to take a risk at some point. Like, you can do this. Why don't you try this pain? Why don't you try this, healthy risk? And so a lot of times when we say risk, people get scared, like, oh no, are we telling them to jump off the table? No, that is not a safe risk. I'm talking about healthy, safe risk that they can actually take in the classroom. And that's doing things that they're uncomfortable with, doing things that they may not typically do. But you're not going to push them right in, but actually say, hey, I know you can do this. This is a great way. Just try a little bit here, giving them the opportunity. Accepting mistakes. They build something and it falls apart. Leaving that mess there until the next day and coming back and saying, okay, let's try to put this back together again. Helping them understand that, hey, you may not get it right the first time. If you create that type of environment, kids won't be afraid to try new things. People are afraid of starting businesses, afraid of moving to new places. Why? Because of failure, the fear of failure. You had to experience that at some point in your life in order for you to be able to say, you know what, I'm not doing anything risky, or I'm not going to do that because I don't want to make a mistake. Mistakes are okay as long as they're within a certain ramification of things. But helping kids to accept, hey, yeah, you made a mistake, so let's talk about what we can do better next time. Time for exploration, giving them time to be able to explore. I think in our schedules in our classroom, they're so rigid that there is no time for exploration. There's no time for kids to try to figure things out. Even with answers, we're like, all right, raise your hand if you can tell me what exploration means. And then we're like, okay, nobody said anything. And just that quick, we're like, okay, well, here's the answer. We don't even give them time to process it. We don't even give them context clues to talk about it because we're so busy trying to get circle time over in 20 minutes, 15 minutes. We have to go to the next thing. We don't give time for exploration. So if you're a director or you're an owner of the school, take the time to make schedules that promote creative thinking, exploration time throughout the day. Find individual interests, and we talked about that. You guys can create a space for kids to come in and write things down and put it on the board. So what I would actually do, and I've done this before, I had you can make an interest board instead of a Pinterest board. What I did was I made a bulletin for notes, and so bright ideas and notes, and I left a sticky note there, and kids would come in, and I'll say, okay, do you have any bright ideas today that you want to share, something that you want to do in the classroom? And they would tell me, and I would write it out on a sticky note, and I would let them put it on a board. You can do a interest board where they pin ideas to it. Maybe the I could be like the P in interest, and then have that in your classroom. So when your preschoolers come in, it should be down on their level. They can use sticky notes to write their ideas down or tell you what the ideas are and pin it on that interest board. But you need to take the time to find out what kids actually like. Question ideas and problems. Ask questions, ask for ideas, and then help them resolve problems in the environment. Don't give them an answer. Help them solve the problem. Let's think about that. Let's figure that out together. So these are some ways to create an environment that's creative and spark creativity. So it's not about all the cute arts and crafts that you can do. We're talking about real creativity. We're talking about real artistic adventure. So a lot of times people are like, well, what artwork can I do? Well, what about asking the kids what artwork they want to do? Ask them how they want to express themselves today, whether it's dance, song, movement, some other type of movement, whether it is silence, whether it is a painting, whether it's a sculpture, giving them opportunities to show their creativity in individual ways. All right. So here are some things that you can do in your environment to spark create. Let's see. Let's go back. To spark creative activities. Inventing songs. You guys saw me going on an adventure, going on an adventure. Well, I even told Miss Rebecca to make sure she records her songs so that she can remember them. painting different shapes and lines, using different things to create different shapes and lines, coming up with their own shapes, experiment with building different sculptures, using movements to express how they feel. Oh my goodness, you feel sad today? Show me a sad movement. Show me an exciting movement. Woo, woo, woo. Show me a angry movement. So expressing your ways through feelings. Um, Concentrating on projects for a long period of time, like Miss Rebecca has the ants in her classroom. I had the ladybugs in my classroom. I even seen in a Reggio project where the kids talked about ballet, and they actually watched ballets. They went to a ballet. They had different pieces of the ballet that they brought in. They made ballet slippers. They made ballerina figurines. And so doing long-term projects. And I said earlier that you can actually do these in the center if your curriculum does not allow room for it. But every month or 2 months or 3 months, depending on how long they spent on an activity, we would go on a different long project and talk about all these things in addition to our regular curriculum. Making up stories. One thing that I used to do with the kids, and it used to be so funny, and I would actually record it, and then I did this in like a 4-step process. I would start the story, and then I would record it. Then I would break it down and call the kids over who's part of the story that I recorded and write it, or they would help write it out into like a book. So then I would let them listen to it, and I would show them the words, and then the next day or the next week I would have them create pictures with their part of the story. I would laminate it, put it in a bound book, and it was a part of our library. And so they could listen to it on tape, they could read about it in a book, and actually see their art and their pictures. And so I would start off with like, once upon a time, Ms.Carolyn was skating on the playground when all of a sudden, and I would pass the mic to another kid, and they would say, all of a sudden she slipped and fell and got up and ate a pizza. And then they would pass it to the next kid when they were ready. Well, when she was eating that piece of pizza, her nose started running, and she wiped it on her arm, and then she didn't have nowhere to wash it. And then since she didn't have anywhere to wash it, she just lay down and went to sleep. And then they'll pass it to the next kid. And so these stories would keep going and going and going until the mic came back to me, and I would just wrap up the story and end it. So storytelling was so fun, and guys, this is creativity. So don't think about creativity being just paint and paper, but it's also the ability to storytell. And so manipulating objects. And so what I would do is I would start off with a ball, and I would be like, okay, guys, what are you going to make out of this ball today? And so the kids had to use their imagination to make different things that they wanted to make out of that particular ball. So each one of them started out with a ball, and they would manipulate it and make different things, and I would do a before and after picture. So that is a great way for creativity. It's not up here, but I used to have a thinking box, and it used to drive kids crazy. And it would be something in there, and then they had to ask. They couldn't ask what it was, but they could ask questions. And so I would kind of practice with them and kind of act it out. So I would have something in the box, and they would say, well, what's in the box? Well, no, you can't ask me what's in the box, but you can ask me any other questions. And once I kind of modeled for them, they kind of got better and better at it. And these were 3-year-olds. They got better and better at guessing what was in the thinking box until they started going home playing it with their parents. And their parents were like, it makes me so frustrated because I'm like, what's in the box? And they're like, well, you can't ask what's in the box, but you can ask me a question about it. And so they're like, oh, what color is it? What shape is it? Does it have hair? Does it not have it? They start asking different attribute questions about what's in the box. And you would see how these questions would evolve the longer we would play these activities in our circle time. So it was just different things that I did with my 3-year-olds when I was in the 3-year-old classroom. And when I got to the 4-year-old classroom, they were so advanced. We had to do like very much high-level activities because at 3, they were playing the guessing game in the guessing box, and they would ask the questions to get them quicker to that answer. So these are ways that you can promote creativity in the classroom. Okay, so expand your mind using your creativity to promote learning for young children. So it is so important for you to Let's get that out of there. Let's go to the next one. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. It is so important for you to just use your creative mind and your creative thoughts to come up with different things in your classroom. And so, from the time kids came in, from my circle time to my learning center time to the small group activity to the child directed activity. So, some ways that I kind of gave teachers that if you have a set activity that you can add create activity into your program is by incorporating into your circle time, your outdoor time, to your learning center time. Just because you're doing a small group activity doesn't mean that you can't have a child directed activity going on in your art center. Yes, it does take additional lesson planning. You will have your lesson planning that your school provides you, but then you may have a lesson planning sheet where you're like, okay, I'm going to plan these child directed creative activities in these centers in addition to my lesson plans. Yes, it does take a teacher going over and beyond what they're asked to do, but it actually sparks creativity in your classroom and helps kids to become more of who they are. So, yes, that's what I just planning your outside time. Art can be done outside on the playground. Even imagination, painting, even bringing out big pieces of papers and sponge for them to actually sponge paint. In the summertime, instead of doing splash day, the kids would dress up. We would go outside, and I would have like water bottles with different paint in there and let them spray paint. They would lay down and kind of spray paint around each other and trace each other. So it was an alternative to doing splash. Instead of that, we would do like a wild and out art party or an art spray or something like that for the kids to actually do something besides playing with water all the time. It would be an artistic adventure that they would actually get to go on. So, what are you doing in your classroom or in your center to promote creativity? So drop some of the comments in here or if you have questions, we're going to get to the question. We're going to get to the question and answer, but I would love for some of you guys to share some of the ways that you are sparking creativity in your classroom. Or even if it's something that you learned today that you're now going to go back and do in your classroom to spark that creativity. So drop those in the comments. All right, and so now we're going to go into our Q&A session. So do you have questions about providing artistic or creative activities in your classroom? Are you needing more help with going on this artistic adventure? Do you need ways to incorporate things into your program, or you're missing a piece? Is there something that you want to bring on to the live stream so that we can talk about it and answer it? That is the point of these hot topics, is for you guys to get ideas, to ask questions, to get answers to your questions so that you can go back and incorporate these things into your classroom. All right, so I'm going to leave it open for that, and I can bring your comments over to it. Yes, using puppets and role play. That is an amazing way to incorporate creativity. I love, you guys probably know, whenever I used to read books, I used to do voices. I thought I had a book right behind me. I'm going to have to set my little bookshelf up so that I can grab a book. One of my favorite books, the series, is Pinkalicious. Purplelicious, Goldalicious. Purplelicious is a great science and art project. It is a great book to actually read and take your kids on like a 2-week adventure for them to do color mixing, science, all of that. But I love the Pinkalicious series. I think it has Pinkalicious, Goldalicious, Purplelicious, all deliciouses. That's one of my favorite. But whenever I read the books to kids, I actually do the sounds of the characters. So let's just say it's a mommy and a little girl. I'll go, and Mama said, and da 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 da. But then when the little girl talked, she spoke like this. Or when the dog talked, I did all the voices for the kids to actually be able to interact and bring those things. You guys will see that I do have some dolls and some puppets back here. I got these cute little dolls from Target. They're different biracial dolls, and they're great ways for you guys to express. Even if you're reading a book, I can bring her out and make her talk in the book as opposed to me talk. Hi, do you want my friend? What's your name gonna be? Anna? All right, you want my friend Anna to tell you the story today? Say hello, Anna. Hi, my friends. All right, so Anna's gonna be the one to answer all your questions. Oh, I do ribbons, pom-pom, scissors, felt. I am a true believer of letting children be super creative, and I don't mind the mess at all. Oh, she doesn't mind the mess. I think I want to be in her classroom. Dress up clothes to do theater. Yes, they absolutely love theater. They love to wear different things and pretend that they're mommies and daddies, that they're doctors, that they're Superman. So make sure that you have realistic clothing for them to actually dress up with. Okay, I know y'all tired of that voice. Okay, so bye, Anna. Maybe I'll give all my dolls some names over here for them to come and talk to you guys on some of the hot topics. Yes, I love that. Um, the mess. I love the fact that she talked about that. Having extra t-shirts. I had parents bring in old shirts of theirs, like big shirts that they don't wear anymore. And I had like a shirt collection. I would wash them, and whenever kids came in, they could put the shirt on over their clothes and paint and just be themselves. And so you want to provide opportunities, and you don't want it to actually be a issue with them going home being a mess. I don't mind the mess in my classroom. I don't mind the mess in the center, as long as it gets cleaned up, right? All you have to do is just make sure that those clothes are covered and let them go forward. Let them fully explore. All right. So do you guys have? I have some really good teachers on tonight. Switching out items in the sensory table to promote creativity. Oh, that sensory table. There's so much that can be done. One of the things that I love to do in the sensory table, and we do it during our dinosaur theme, is taking cornstarch and a little bit of black and white paint to make gray, and then adding a little bit water in there. And what you kind of make is like a tar pit, because when you cornstarch is actually cornstarch, a little bit of water, mixed in with black paint and white paint, and then you'll make it until you can form the cornstarch together. But then when you let go, it kind of like droops through your hands. And so oblique, it's called oblique. Is that? And then I put the dinosaurs in there and make a tar pit, and so the kids can kind of rub it off their hands, and then they can still have it to play with the animals. The Orbeez, I love the Orbeez, those little soft little gel things to go in the sensory table. You can actually put scissors and construction paper for them to cut up different things in a sensory table. Guys, you have unlimited possibilities in your classroom to provide that artistic adventure. You don't have to just do it in the art center or at art time. It could be a whole classroom full of opportunities for them. And that's one of my favorites to do, is the cornstarch in the water, for kids to do that. Just make sure that you're cleaning out your sensory table and you're switching it out frequently. And if you don't have a sensory table in your classroom, you can make sensory tubs. So I had a smaller classroom at one point at one of the centers I was at, and I made sensory tubs for the kids. And so I did different things in them and labeled them, and they pulled them out whenever they wanted to. It was actually a thin. I thought I had it over here. I'm gonna have to bring it out. But it is actually a bucket that's really thin, and I would put things in there, and it had a top to it, and I created those sensory tubs for the kids. Oh, freezing them in colored ice cubes inside of that. I actually did a STEM project with ice cubes in the sensory table. I had like all these ice cubes, and then one day they had to tell me like their ideas of where ice came from, and they kind of explored it. But they had to figure out how to build a igloo. So I put salt, sugar, glue, all in different bottles, and they had to figure out which one works best for them to be able to build their igloo. So different ways for you guys to use the sensory table as well. Thank you, Kat, for throwing the sensory table in there, because it is a great way to enhance your classroom. any other questions or comments that we can include in our Q&A session? Actually, guys, I kind of like this. What do you guys? How do you feel about this little dark vibe? This glow vibe that we have going on. I love the bright lights, but I'm like, okay. Get my little makeup on and have my little background going. So how do you guys feel about this? I might put some more like some pink lights or something like that in the back. But what do you think about this darker vibe as opposed to the bright lights being on? What do you think about that? Um, Correct. A lot of parents don't want their kids to get messy, so that is why they do not provide that sensory opportunity. But that's where those big shirts come in. One of the things that I did too inside of my classroom is that on the outside I had a recycle box, and I had parents bring in old jugs, milk cartons, boxes, and I kept that there, and I would take those items and put them inside of my art center and let kids build robots and like big activities. And so instead of just having it just in the art center, I would also put those objects in the block center, and then I would call it a free build, make your own robot, make your own house using bigger construction things, and then give them the tools that they actually feel. You're feeling the glow, yes. It was an accident, but hey, I'm kind of liking this. We might have a whole new vibe on the nighttime hot topics. There we go. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I would have that box there, and it would constantly fill it with like all the things. And then I had this recycle area inside of my block center, and it was a box, and I had it wrapped in wrapping paper, and it had all kind of treasures in there, and it was hidden treasures for them to be able to build things. And so they dropped off old t-shirts so that they can have old t-shirts for the Sensory and Art Center. They had those recycled materials all the time. And when it got too full, I would tell them like, hey, we need to use these up before you brought more. But it was a great opportunity for kids to do open-ended art by having parents contribute and bring in things for your actual classroom. So those are just some great ways to involve parents in this unique adventure, as opposed to you as a teacher having to provide everything for your classroom. You can have them bring in those recycled materials as well as those old t-shirts for you guys to be able to do this. I know they don't like to use the dress up clothes and all of that from home because since COVID, since lights, all of those type of things that can go around in child care centers, but you may have parents that have some older costumes from Halloween and different things like that you can actually wash up and hang up in your dramatic play. um Oh, customized popsicles and smoothie. That is a great. Today was Tasty Tuesday for the week of the young child. That would have been a great idea to make custom popsicles and smoothie. Um, their own customized popsicles and smoothies. I like that. And then having opportunities for those cooking labs in your classroom. Remember, your dramatic play center does not have to be a dramatic place, and it doesn't have to be a kitchen all the time. It can actually be a cooking, a chef's kitchen for them to make these different. It can actually be an art studio. It can actually be a science lab. It can actually be an exploration place. Yes, the Dollar Tree does have dress up clothes. I actually buy some from there and wear them myself. The bumblebee wings, I have the butterfly wings and all of that. And it's sad to say I have like quite a few dress up clothes over there in my dress up closet. I just believe like as a teacher, if I don't exuberate the excitement about being a child and loving children, that's not going to pour over to you as teachers. And it's definitely not going to pour over to the kids in the classroom. So I have to be the type of trainer that I want my teachers to be for the children. So basically I want to teach kids from this seat. So that is why I get so excited about creativity, because that is just like all me. Like I said, that's why I created this shirt that says trust your creativity. I trust it, and I absolutely love that. I actually have one that says it's, let me show you. I was going to actually wear it today. I'm going to get up and grab it. It says it's a good day to make some art. So that was the shirt that I was gonna actually wear for this hot topic, and I was like, no, I like this one. Trust your creativity, and so that's the teacher shirt that I decided to well, I make them and but to wear today for the live. So yes, each one of you have that inner creative piece, and it is time to unleash it onto your teachers if you're an admin, and on your students in your classroom. And I always tell you, each one, reach one, teach one. Grab someone who you know is struggling into this area and invite them to watch the replay. Invite them to understand that they too can be creative and they are a creative person. And like I said, if they're saying, I'm not creative, I don't have creativity, go to that slide that I had and say, okay, well, let me give you the creativity test. And guarantee they're going to say yes to one of those things, which makes them a creative person. So get more of your teachers involved and think about it like this. The more teachers we get involved, the more kids we can impact. For every teacher, there's 5 to 10 kids that we can reach. So if I can reach 10 teachers, that is like anywhere to 50 to 100. That's more kids than I can actually teach. And so it's really important that we take these topics, these hot topics, and spread them out to more teachers to give them ideas on how they can provide creativity in the classroom. And it doesn't have to be teacher directed art, copy the cat art. We need to see more galleries, experiences, adventures that kids are going on to show their creative side. Okay. All right. So, any more comments, any more questions? Thank you guys so much for joining me on this artistic, creative adventure. I am going to stick around to see if there's any questions or comments before I wrap up and end the live, or some ideas that you guys may want to share with each other, or even some things that you would want me to expand on. For infants and toddlers, if I have any infant and toddlers, if you guys need more ideas for infant and toddlers, you're like, oh my God, that's so preschool. What about me as an infant teacher? What about me as a toddler teacher? Because you have to create creative, artistic adventures for them as well. As an infant teacher, when I was an infant teacher, they hated me in the infant room because I was always pulling out paint, taking that paint, putting it in a plastic bag with a sheet of paper and letting them finger paint that way. I mean, so many different things. We did like baby food finger painting. We did they had like all kind of sticky stuff to play with, and the teachers were like, they're supposed to eat, sleep, cry, poop, and we put them, that's it. And you're coming in here with all these big bags of tricks. So even in your infant classroom, you can provide the same artistic experience, provoking their creativity. The younger we start, the more developed in their creativity they'll be when they become a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and 5-year-old. And they won't be scared. I'm scared. Like kids that they don't want to touch the paint. They're like this. I don't want to touch it. It's messy. That's because, we've taken that creativity away from them. All right. Any questions? Did I just see that word? Ditto? No. A ditto is a no. No ditto sheets. No black line copies. No coloring sheets. No. I am the queen of no dittos. And when I see them, they kind of make the hair on my neck stand up, unless it's a black line because you're doing this project that you're sending home for the I do not like to see them in the infant room, the toddler room, the preschool room, none of that. It is so many other ways to provide children with hands-on learning experience. There is no need for them to be sitting down doing worksheets all the time. Yes, there's journaling and there's documentation of journaling that you can do, and I'm actually coming out with a preschool journal in the next couple of weeks, because there is no real preschool journal for them. You only get like notebook paper and you're trying to make it, or you get this big white space and these little lines up under it, and it's not appropriate for a preschool. It's no place for a teacher to record their thoughts or to ask questions for the kids, and then a place for the kid to actually copy what the teacher wrote. And so we need more journals like that in the classroom. But there's just is so many ways for children to express themselves. There's no need for black lines. Career opportunities and doing role plays are amazing. I've done that at a lot of schools. I've even gone to elementary schools as a tooth fairy. I used to be the tooth fairy back in the day. Yeah, that was an ideal job, right? I used to be the tooth fairy, and I used to go in and teach kids hygiene on how to have pretty white teeth and how not to have cavities, and I've never had a cavity in my life, and so it was a really interesting job to have. But I went around. But you can get people from different professions to come in and talk about all type of topics with your kids that are absolutely free, and half of them, or most of them, are amongst the parents. And so a lot of times I would just get with my parents and have them come in and share some of the things that they did, the nurses, the doctors, even like some uncommon jobs, like there are data processing. What does that actually mean? And so kids need to know that there's other roles besides being a fireman, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher. Like, there are other professions out there, and kids need to have that and understand that there's creative roles. There are actually people that are artists out there. There are actually people who are designers, that make clothes, that do that. When I was a kid, nobody talked about that. They actually just pretended, like that didn't exist. And I'm like, I'm gonna be a fashion designer when I grow up, and they're like, that's not a job. And I'm like, well, who made the clothes that you're wearing? I was that type of kid. So so I was asking all the right questions. But kids don't get to see that as an option as a career anymore. So let's get those type of roles in those professions. Oh, touching their feet. Yes, painting with their feet. Absolutely. Um, oh, if I came to your school, you wouldn't let me go. Like, people try to kidnap me when I come to their school. That's why I have to stay behind the virtual camera when I go there. And I am like this. Like, people who have worked with me before, I'm like this in person, in real life. And I try my best to be the best in the early childhood profession and give the best in the early childhood profession. But I am a little extra. I'm a little dramatic, and the kids love it. And I try to be that for my teachers. I try to be that for my parents and for the kids, because again, this should be an adventure. They should remember their early years as the best years. Thanks, Kat. She's like, it's not an act. Oh, y'all should like this in real life. Getting on everybody's nerves with my extra spirit. Like, girl, can you go take a nap somewhere? Can you not? And I'm also real about it. Like, I will get down to the business. I will get down to a teacher, helping them understand. But I'm also not afraid to go in the classroom and demonstrate for them as well. So I try to be a person. And what makes these trainings so important to me is because I did not have anyone who was like me that was teaching me. Like, those people, they were doctors and professors and did all this research. But it's like, have you ever been bit by a 3-year-old before? Have you ever been slapped before? Have you ever been kicked before? Have a kid ever pooped on you before? Have you been thrown up on? And half the time the answers are no. Or sometimes if you're an administrator and you've never really been in the classroom, it's really hard to really connect, because all you know is the office role. So I love providing trainings that teachers can actually relate to, because it is so hard when you're in that classroom to get someone who really understands what it's like to be a teacher. There's a lot of administrative trainings out there. There's a lot of trainings that's teaching people how to have the best center. But the part of having the best center is really getting down to helping teachers understand how they play an intricate role in developing these children and giving them somebody who looks like them, sound like them, that was them, that is them, to be able to teach them how to make these things work. Yeah, I mean, it's not about people. I want you guys to be the best teachers you can be, because I wanted to be the best teacher, and I had to learn the hard way. I bumped my head a lot of times, not only as a teacher, but as an administrator, as an assistant director, as a director, as a district manager, as an area regional manager, as a center owner. Like, I bumped my head so many times that I can honestly tell people, like, hey, this is what's going to make your job easier as a teacher. Like, don't do that's going to make your job hard. Here's how to make your job more exciting and fun. Here's how to make yourself better. Because at the end of the day, if you're not whole as a teacher and you don't feel good about yourself, you're doing a child an injustice. And so that's why these hot topics are here, is to empower people to be better at being themselves and loving themselves and being a teacher that is that's inside of their heart, that can come out and spread to all the kids. Yeah, you are a rare jewel, Rebecca, and I can tell you that. Even Kat, she's on here. Kavita, I know I met you online. A lot of you guys I don't know in person, but I can feel your energy from miles and miles away, to know that I am doing a great deed, or I'm trying to um, find more people like you, because there are teachers who are just like you, Rebecca, who are great at what they're doing and they're burnt out. They're just tired. It's just the rigmarole of every day. And if you guys look at my page, I want to bring back sparkle to the early childhood education, because it doesn't have to be like this. What happened is we just got a lot of wrong people in a lot of wrong places, and a lot of there's not a lot of knowledge and understanding on how to make this fun again. And we can do this. It can actually change. And I love your testimony, Rebecca, and I love the place that you're in, because it's like reigniting that fire, and every once in a while your light will dim. It will get dark. And I've been in that spot before, so I can relate. I've been in a classroom like this. Like, oh my God, I've been a director like that. I've been an owner like that. I've been a district manager. I've been an employee like that, where I just like, oh my goodness, really? This is just too much. And there was nobody I could really go to and say, like, this is how I feel. I love this, but what can I do now? Nobody out there was like that. Nobody wants to talk about the deep, dark craziness of childcare. And it's a crazy world. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, the kids are all honky-dory and they're all happy all the time. That's not true. And if people are selling you that, they're not selling the truth. They want to cry and complain about teachers quitting, but why are these teachers quitting? Because they're not equipped. They don't have the tools that they need. And sometimes they do have the tools that they need, but they don't have that support. They don't have that encouragement. They don't have that love. Because essentially, to me, these teachers, you guys are like my kids. You're like my classroom that I want to pour into and make better. And then if I do that with you, I have just helped a whole generation of children by doing that. Oh, thank you, Kat. I really do. And being a light is, because I know it can be dark. Even if it doesn't look right, I know it can be dark. And I'm a person, I'll tell you when you're wrong, and I'll correct you when you're wrong, and tell you some things that you can do, but I'm not going to let you hang out there to dry. I'm not going to make you feel like, like you should just give up, because it is hard. You guys are going to face some hard times, and it's just going to get worse. And if you don't prepare yourself now and gear up now, and I know we're talking about creativity, and this is a different topic, but if you don't get ready now, where are our children going to be in the future? Because there's a lot of Rebeccas out there. There's a lot of cats like there. There's a lot of Kavitas. There's a lot of Danielles out there that need this type of empowerment, and they're hanging on by a thread. And the only thing the director can see, because they're hanging on by a thread as well, is that they're not a good employee or they're not a good teacher. But really deep down inside, they are. They just need someone to kind of just cuddle them sometime, like that kid, that problem child in the classroom. They just need some love sometime, and they need to know that they can do it. So yeah, I feel like some directors do not pour into them, because they're just so wrapped up in their job, and some of them have a lot on their plate. You know that, Kat, as a director. You know that, Kavita, as a owner and a director. You have so much on your plate. That's why I really want to get out there in the director's ears, is that you need to get people in your teacher's ears, and that voice needs to be another voice besides your voice, because you're not reaching them. We're in a crisis right now. The early childhood field is in a crisis. We don't have people that want to work. We don't have people that want to show up here, because there's no one here to accept them and love them and to grow them. So just like children have to be grown, teachers have to be grown and bloom too. And sometimes they have to be pruned. And sometimes they have to be fine-tuned. Sometimes they need to be loved and nurtured. They need a little bit more water on this day. And we need that in our community. And sometimes directors need that, so therefore they can't give that to the staff. You see how it trickles down? You have overwhelmed owners, you have overwhelmed directors, you have overwhelmed teachers who end up quitting. So it kind of trickles down, and everybody is just on all wits' ends. They just want to give up. And what we need to do is align these teachers with people that can bring them sparkle, joy, and light. From the time they walk in the door, they should be loved on, they should be embraced, they should know that they carry the keys to the future. But a lot of them are just thrown in there and like, figure it out. And that's not okay. Or we think that they have common sense. I said there's no common sense in childcare. None of it's common. What I know about children and have experiences with children is not what Kat has experienced or what she has done with children. So there's no commonness in it. If I want us to have the same common sense, I have to get us on the same page so that our sense is common. We're not on the same page sometimes, but we expect teachers and colleagues to understand, and they don't. And so we all have to do our parts in bringing that sparkle. It is a struggle with staff. Yes, it is. Finding the right people and grooming them. And sometimes the best staff are blank slate staff. Staff that are just blank slates that you can just paint on. And some of them are seasoned staff that you just have to bring in and say, hey, we do things a little bit different. Do you want to go on this adventure with me? Are you ready for the adventure? All right, come on, let's go on this adventure. And this is how we're going to bring magic to children. This is how we're going to bring sparkle. And if the teacher say yes, you're going to start singing that song. Going on an adventure. Gonna see a classroom. Gonna make a difference. Oh, we're gonna make a change. And so you're gonna have to do something of that sort in order for you to be able to bring teachers in and get them excited about what they're going to do. And so that is why a lot of people are struggling. When I say struggling with staff because of how the staff comes in, what they experience, the lack of support, the lack of communication, the lack of training. And directors will say, well, I did train them. Yeah, but did you train them from a director perspective or did you train them from a teacher perspective? Were you encouraging? Could you really pull time away from the office to really train that staff? What was their influence? What environment did you put them in? Did you put them around another teacher that was negative and then expected them to bloom and blossom? You don't put a seed into dry ground and not water it. No. If you put it into dry ground, then it's going to die. It's not going to flourish. And a lot of times our classrooms are dry grounds and we want to put a teacher in there and expect her to blossom, and she can't. She needs a little bit more water and she needs a little bit more nurturing. That dry ground may be full of negative thoughts. It could be full of negative teachers. It could be full of negative, misbehaving children because the environment is dry. You put a teacher in there, she's going to die with it, and that classroom is going to continue to stay dead. But if we start creating environments that are creative places, that are exciting, that makes teachers want to be there and have fun. If we're giving them supportive tools, teaching them how to deal with challenging behavior, not putting them off on the teacher that is the good teacher, watch what we're doing in the environment. Make sure that ground is tilled. Make sure that ground it has a little bit of fertilizer in there before you put that teacher in there and expect her to grow and blossom. Then once she's in there, you can't expect her to do it on her own. You got to give her a mentor. You got to give her somebody who's going to nurture, encourage, and grow her. So just like we have mentors for directors, just like we have mentors for owners, we have every job has mentors. But in childcare, we don't give teachers mentors. We put her with the negative teacher and expect her to grow and blossom. Every teacher needs a coach. Every teacher needs somebody who's going to encourage and teach them the right way. And we fail at that in the early childhood field because we don't have the time, the resources, the money to be able to give teachers that. But you need to have a sparkly person on your staff that's going to pour into and mentor those teachers. Yep, sink or swim. That's a lot of teacher situation. Check the box. Yep. Do they meet this, meet this, meet this? If you work in childcare for 20 years, you should know. There are people who have been in childcare for 15, 20 years and have worked at horrible centers that didn't have expectations. You cannot expect them to come in your environment and know how to be a teacher. They know how to be a babysitter. They know how to watch kids. They know how to love kids. They don't know how to meet those expectations. Same. And this is why I am glad I started as a teacher and became a director. Me too, Kat. because it makes a world of difference. So I know how to be in the classroom and can relate and model and coach the teachers. Yes. And and it is a fine line between that, between being a teacher and being a director, because sometimes we get our feelings into, oh my God, she's a teacher, she needs help, she needs support, but then we can't be an administrator. So you have to find a happy balance between that. And even if you've never worked in the classroom, spend time with your teachers and understand what their heartaches are, what their crying pains are, so that you can relate to them and give them the tools that they need. I don't know it, but I'm your mentor. I will be your mentor. I will take ownership. You will be my New York baby in a minute. And guys, when I offer myself, a lot of people go, "Oh my God, she won't help me. She has this going on. She has this, the school and all that." When I say that I will answer your questions as soon as I can, I will. Just send me an inbox. I don't care if I get hundreds of them or thousands of them. I will find a way to be able to connect to the teachers, because it's all about really growing teachers, not about just collecting a check or getting money, or, oh, you got to pay me for a training, or different things like that. This is an actual passion of mine, and I don't mind connecting and growing. So whether I'm your mentor, get somebody that's going to keep you rejuvenated and excited about what you do. That's what I have to say. And I know that kind of got off of creativity, but it does have to do with creativity, because we're all teachers and we all want the best for the kids that we work with. But things have to shift in the early childhood field, and we got to bring some sparkle back, and that is my goal and my plan. Yes, the child care fairy godmother. I want to bring magic and sparkle back to the early childhood classroom. You got it. You got it. That is my goal right there. All right, so guys, if you guys don't have any questions, I know it's getting late, and I know it's real late in New York. I mean, Rebecca, I'm like, girl, it's late. Kavita, I'm not sure exactly if you're in Texas yet, but I know it's late where you're at, or is it early? Are you Pacific time, or are you East Coast time? I'm not sure exactly where you're at, but I know you guys, it's late. Okay, so yes, the next session. Oh, I can't wear them the next session because you guys are going to be like in this area where I'm going to be doing music and movement. And so I am going to have to do a special live with my fairy wings and my fairy wand, so that I can bring some magic and sparkle back to you guys. So yes, that is a treat for you. So as I'm getting the studio ready for yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock. Yeah, where Rebecca is too. I'm getting the studio ready, so I'm moving some things around. I am going to do some short videos to show you guys how I set up my classroom, which this is my classroom right here for my students, you guys, my teachers. And then hopefully that'll inspire you guys to do some fun things in your classroom as well. So once again, it is a pleasure training you guys tonight. I love this hot topic. I love the interaction and all the questions and all the comments. And oh yes, Kat, you need to come see my new studio. I will send you the address once it gets finished, because it is a little scary in here right now. That's my creativity rolling. But it's going to be okay soon. It's going to be all right soon. All right, so thank you guys so much. It was such a pleasure to train you. I will be sending out some follow-up emails this week with the hot topic links for you guys to get your CEUs and your credits. I am changing the certificate, the CEU format that you guys are going to get at the end of the training. So you will get the big one that prints off, and then the other one will come to your email as well. So thank you again for joining this hot topic. I am Dr. Carolyn Bob Green, and I am the fairy godmother of early education, and I hope that you will bring your kids on an artistic adventure all year long. So thank you guys so very much. Oh yes, please let me know when you're in Houston.